Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another Red Gamer Tidicom video. This video is going to be focused primarily on Sony, where a couple of very interesting developments have happened from Camp Sony over the past 24 or so hours. First things first, we're going to talk about the PlayStation VR potentially coming to the PC, according to Sony themselves, and then we're going to discuss the new rumours regarding the PlayStation 4.5 or PlayStation 4K or whatever you want to call it. This would involve the release window, what the system is capable of, and much more besides. So if you want the information, stick around. But first of all, PlayStation VR coming to the PC. Now you may say to yourself, well, why would they do that? Well, according to the Executive Vice President over at SCE, I'm probably going to butcher the man's name, but it's Masayasu Ito. He recently had an interview with the Japanese newspaper Nikkei, and he did reveal that the PlayStation VR may well be supported on the PC in the future. He didn't elaborate any timescales when we may see that, just that they were internally considering this. It makes a great deal of sense actually from the perspective of Sony. First of all, on the PC side of things, you've got the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, but they are more expensive models than the PSVR, and from Sony, two benefits. The first of all, it definitely increases the chances that more people are going to buy the hardware, because let's face it, if you could buy a PSVR headset, which is a pretty damn good quality item from what I've heard, and then you can use that either on your PS4 or on your PC, it's really great for either budget-conscious gamers or gamers who just want to dip their toes into VR for now, and then maybe when ultra-high specification headsets become cheaper, let's say in 2 years' time, then they could upgrade if they really need to. The second great thing about this is that for developers, it means that they have what is essentially a fixed specification over a couple of different platforms. So for the sake of argument, if you're Epic Games and you're developing a VR game, you know that the hardware that you're targeting on the PS4 is also available for that of a PC, therefore you have a base spec. Presumably, the system would also not require as much GPU grunt to run as, let's say, the Vive, because obviously it has a lower resolution screen and stuff. It's actually really cool, and I really hope Sony do go ahead and do support the PSVR on the PC. I think it would be absolutely phenomenal. Ding dong, ding dong. That was the sound of the GDC 2016 bells, because as they were tolling, last-minute rumours popped up that Sony were actually working on an updated PlayStation 4. Since then, we couldn't really seem to step 2 feet without PS4.5 information popping up, or someone has some insight into the system. We've of course conducted a lot of analysis on what this potential new system may be, but an interesting new report has popped up from a fairly reputable source actually, Wall Street Journal, and they actually corroborate earlier reports. They state that Sony are not going to be abandoning the original vanilla PlayStation 4, and instead will manufacture this new PS4 alongside the old model. So this upgraded system will supposedly fix issues with the vanilla system. We've actually gone through some of these already, but it's nice to actually hear from yet another source that this is actually the case. The first is that it will fix the inability to natively read 4K Blu-ray discs, and also the fact that the machine isn't currently capable of displaying 4K content. Why? Because of the HDMI version. Now, those fixes could potentially be why the system is given the nickname of PlayStation 4K by some developers. Rather interestingly, if all of that is fairly accurate, it actually lends some credence to yet more rumours which popped up a while back. Now those rumours said that Sony were actually telling Netflix themselves, this is actually by the Huffington Post, that Sony were promising Netflix that they would have an updated PS4 version which would allow them to stream at 4K, and Sony had also stated that they were considering a system with updated 4K Blu-ray support. So those two things come together with these new rumours. Now, from what we've heard, this new system is being touted in new reports as capable of, I quote, ultra high definition resolution graphics, and will supposedly extend backwards compatibility to older titles. So if you buy, let's say, the PS4.5, you're able to play, let's say, Killzone Shadowfall, not a problem, But suffice to say, if Killzone Shadowfall 2 comes out, for sake of argument, you can put that in the new machine, and you can also put that in the old machine, and theoretically it should run. The big question is, of course, what the hell difference is there between the two versions? Now obviously we're probably going to see differences in resolution, potentially differences in frame rate, but are you also going to see differences in, say, level of detail? Are you going to see certain levels which are just unachievable on vanilla hardware? Unfortunately, we just don't know. Now, we've already gone heavily into some analysis of what potential options there could be for the updated model in terms of the hardware, in terms of what you could actually potentially see from it. The first, of course, is 2 compute units currently disabled in the retail model activated, with potentially a clock speed increase as well. And the other option is a Polaris-based GPU, which would offer large performance boosts over the current retail system. Kind of interesting stuff, at least in my opinion. I'm still sitting on the fence of how the market is going to receive this, and I think really it comes down to pricing and Sony's strategy and support for the machine. Because obviously if people feel that Sony are just going to abandon regular users, they're going to be pretty pissed. On the other hand, if they're not abandoning them, but there's a compelling reason to upgrade, and it's launched, let's say, end of this year, a lot of folks, especially if they can get a fairly good trade-in value for their original PS4s, they may say, well, you know what, I'm happy to do the upgrade. And this is particularly true for those folks who, let's say, have 4K native televisions, they have desire to do a lot of streaming, a lot of movies, and maybe they've got a growing Blu-ray collection. I can definitely see the appeal for those individuals. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.